So I think that's what you're alluding to here in Tampa Bay. We still have a low inventory market, but there's also fewer buyers.
Yeah, I think so. I think he hit the head on the nail with that one. You know, economics, supply and demand, all that stuff is cyclical, and it makes a ton of sense. So if you still have low inventory, you're not going to see, at least in my opinion, house markets crash, especially like they used to back in the day.
Right.
Back when we went through like the 09, 2010, 2011 shenanigans with all the financing and you know, the excess supply and the surplus and everything that was going on. That movie, The Big Short, was great. That really explained it great if you ever saw that.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen that one, that's a fantastic movie to find on Netflix or Prime or wherever you get it. The Big Short was wonderful, and it's crazy how we don't really learn from our past experiences because they're still doing that today, but they've just kind of changed the name and changed the way they package these types of things for homes. So it's still concerning, but I don't see house market, pricing markets crashing like we expected and saw 10 years ago or so.
Yeah, I don't expect that either. We had subprime, a lot of bad loans being made, and they package it. For folks that don't know, that what happens is on the secondary market, a lot of these loans are packaged up into what they call mortgage-backed securities, and then sold on the secondary market. And China was buying up a lot of that debt, and so it's interesting to see. And then remember AIG, they were the insurer, they went under, so it had this ripple effect. Bear Stearns, I worked at Argent Mortgage back in the day. Argent Mortgage Company was the wholesale side of AmeriQuest. So it's interesting to see the meltdown, but that's not happening. We have a low. And it's interesting because it's across the board. All states typically have somewhat of a low inventory market. I was looking at some of the stats too. I pulled some stats off of what percentage of population in the United States, where people are moving from. I'll look for that. But tell us a little bit more about your home staging business. What does it actually mean to home stage, and what do you do for folks?
Sure. So for those folks that aren't familiar with what home staging is basically, in essence, we are professional house marketers. What we would do is for our business, we primarily concentrate in vacant homes. So if a home is vacant, it's been moved out, or if it's just kind of an empty shell of itself, and it needs a competitive marketing advantage to attract more buyers online and start that snowball effect of getting more traction, getting more showings, getting more offers, and ultimately selling for more, that's what we do. We're able to bring in the furnishings, make it really look like a model, so it's connecting with buyers on an emotional, a psychological level. People stay in the property longer when they go to visit a staged property. Our statistics show the ones that we keep locally by county, the ones you can find online through the National Association of Realtors, the Real Estate Staging Association. It just shows, and there's proof in the pudding, that staging will help sell houses faster. It does sell for more. And I think that's why a lot of our real estate and our flipper and investor clients love it, because it provides a consistent product that elevates that particular listing versus competitive listings for the same price in a 5-mile radius. What's going to separate it? And that's what we're able to do.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a good point there too, Patrick. We're talking with Patrick Furlow here, Step by Stage Interiors, home staging company for the Consumer Quarterback Show and the Platinum MVP team. I think you hit on a good point there too, because a lot of times people say, oh, well, these are my comps. These are in my neighborhood. But buyers today, they're not just looking at the one neighborhood. They're looking 5-10-mile radius, maybe more, just because they want to be in proximity to that school or that particular church or maybe a hospital. So it's not necessarily about the comps for your home. You're competing with the larger area today as well.
That's absolutely right. People drive more these days, even though traffic in Tampa, we all know, is terrible, which is why we live in Lakeland. We still got to drive through it all the time to get out to Pinellas and to Hillsborough for all the jobs and the clients that we service. But it is what it is. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But people drive more, people travel more. I mean, I used to drive to work to Tampa for 6 straight years in a row from Lakeland, and I-4 wasn't as bad back then. It's certainly gotten worse. But you just do what you have to do to find a house that's affordable for you, to where you're still making your income that works for your family, where you can save a little bit of money, you can live comfortably, or continue to do different things to try to come up with alternatives for different types of income streams. I know for us, we just launched a secondary business called the Staging Collective that we're doing on a national and international level, as a matter of fact. But as people drive more, people are looking in a broader variety for homes that are going to fit their family needs and their lifestyles. So you're competing against even more properties than you might have thought in the past, that people are more localized to where they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a good point. Let's talk a little bit about your stage. When you look at staging, some of your specific success stories, because I know in every business there's these stories that are just like, wow, this worked out perfectly. Can you give us a recent success story?
Sure. I like to subscribe. I like to describe a lot of our success stories as almost like a shock and awe effect, because a lot of times people don't know until they know. until you've staged with someone before and you've seen the result that it provides, people just are blown away. I always like to tell anybody who's considering home staging or where they're reviewing a home staging company to do your due diligence. Look at Google reviews, look at Facebook, look at House, look at a variety of areas. Ask real estate people that you know who's a great company, who you would trust, and that makes a huge difference. For us, I know when we just did, we had it on the market for 3 months. It wasn't going anywhere. This is an example where a real estate agent reached back out to us because it wasn't moving and they needed to do something different. So they brought us in, we staged it, and 5 days later we had 2 offers on it.
It's a vacant home?
Yep, vacant home. It was just one of those things where, if it is vacant, we always like to kind of tell folks to just avoid the 3 Bs when you're listing a property. If it's barren, boring, and bland, it is just a shell of itself, and sometimes people can't visualize themselves in an empty house. I know a lot of times for me when I'm looking at Zillow or Redfin, just on my own time playing around looking at properties, I'll look at a vacant listing and I can't even tell what room this is in this certain section of the house. Is it a bedroom? Is it a family room? I don't even know. So if I'm looking through this listing and I'm not attracted to what I'm seeing on this listing, I'll go through 2 or 3 pictures and I'm moving on to the next one.
Yeah, that's true.
So if it establishes like the form, the function of the room, it looks beautifully designed, but it also highlights the architectural features of the property. You can understand what that space is. People are more apt to go through the entire Rolodex of those photos online, fall in love with that space, necessitating that phone call to the buyer's agent, say, hey, my sellers, Jack and Bonnie down here want to see this property. They love what they see online. And it just starts that effect, and that happens every single time, more and more often when they look at a staged property. It's a differentiator.
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely true and a lot of times you'll look at listings, it'll have the front door, the front hallway, and then the next room, and then the next room. It doesn't have, I get what they're trying to do as a flow, but I like to put, okay, here's a picture of the waterfront, here's a picture of the pool, here's the jacuzzi, here's a kitchen. Kitchen needs to be right up front. People want to see that kitchen right away. So don't necessarily follow just the order of the pictures. I think you need to put the attractive ones up front to keep that stickiness.
That's right. And we're in a first impression business. One of the things that we do for our company is every time we stage a vacant property, we always provide complimentary standard MLS photography to our sellers and our agents so they can use those to help market. We get them back quickly from our photographers. They're beautiful quality. And it's just one of those things where when our agents put that on MLS, they have what they need to be able to put in the order they want, what they want to showcase for that property. Again, first impression, so when you're looking at the house, you probably want to see a great shot of the outside of the property. If it has a pool, it's on a golf course, and in the first few pictures you see on the inside, you want something that's going to be like, wow, like look at this house. This house is beautiful.
Right.
And they go through the rest of it, and then the snowball effect starts from there, and it makes a huge difference when people are buying properties. It has to connect with them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break. More with Patrick Furlow coming up here in just a moment. When we come back, I want to give you a breakdown of this, the population change in the United States, the biggest winner, the biggest loser, which states people are moving from, and we're going to talk about that here coming up from the Consumer Quarterback Show. Follow us online. We'd love to connect at BrandonRhymes1 at CQB Show, and of course YouTube.com Brandon Rhymes Realty on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And more with Patrick Furlow. We're going to talk more home staging, interior design, as well as his business and step-by-stage interiors. Coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. They offer the very best nationwide coverage on 4G and 5G LTE networks and exceptional 100% US-based customer support. Patriot Mobile offers discounts for veterans and first responders, NRA members, and families with multiple lines. Learn more at patriotmobile.com/consumer QB. That's patriotmobile.com/consumer QB. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can reach out at 727-263-3707. That's 727-263-3707. And we'd be happy to tell you more about Patriot Mobile. Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense. and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. It means the world to us by supporting the program, calling into the hotline, reaching out, and supporting our expert contributors. Over 50 show partners with the Consumer Quarterback Show. So thank you for calling. Thank you. We're getting email submissions as well at consumerqb.com. You can email us directly there. And also you can call us directly at 727-263-3707. Call or text that line, 727-263-3707. And we would get right back in touch with you, hook you up with any of our attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, home security experts, so many different ways we help you here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Quick shout out to Replenish IV Solutions, longtime friends of the program. Say hello to Stephen and Lisa Gunnan over at Replenish IV Solutions. I go in once a month and I get my vitamin infusion drip, pumping in all the good vitamins into my body, all the B's, the C's, all the good stuff going into your body. Check them out online, replenishivsolutions.com. Let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. Take them up on those special offers. All right, a couple of hot listings here for this segment. We've got a property that we just did a price improvement at 605 Monterey Avenue in Clearwater. We did a price drop here. Owner is motivated, and we're hoping to get some offers on this property at 605 Monterey Avenue. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2163 square feet. You have a newer hot water heater, AC, and roof, circular driveway, large courtyard, and kind of a cul-de-sac home because there's no house on the end of the street. 605 Monterey Avenue in Clearwater. Another one of our real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. 11722 County Road 672. This property could be seen as a commercial or residential property, and I'll tell you why. It's a 20-acre farm in Riverview with an expansive 40-foot warehouse by 100-foot warehouse, and you have a single-family home on site, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You have citrus trees and palm trees on this great opportunity to buy a home with a warehouse, and it's a commercial property or could be seen as a residential depending on what you want to do there. 11722 County Road 672 in Riverview, and you can see all of our listings at platinumcoastalelite.com.
This is God's country.
All right, Patrick Furlow in the house, and before the break, kind of teased on where the population's changing, where the population's movement, but this is from USA Facts. Between 2010 and 2021, Texas had the largest growth with 4.3 million more residents. Illinois had the largest decline of over almost 170,000 fewer people. And among counties with the most growth, Maricopa County out there in Arizona had the largest growth with 671,000 more people. Baltimore City, Maryland, and had the largest decline with 44,000 fewer residents. So it's kind of interesting to see those trends. And, the population grew. The United States population grew 7.3% from the 309.3 million that lived in the United States. I think we're over 330 million now with total residents. So, yeah, 2021 was 331 million residents in the United States. So, Patrick Furlow back. We're here in studio talking home staging, and you think interest rates are causing some people to panic. I think that's a challenge that we have right now, and hopefully they don't raise the rates again.
Yeah, I know the Fed's been doing that kind of like clockwork for like the last year or so. The higher it goes, the more scared people get. I think at the end of the day, people just need to make sound financial decisions. Don't overbuy what you can't afford, right? If the price of home prices go up and the interest rates go up, it might just kind of change like what kind of property you're looking for. So I know a wise financial advice that I've always gotten from my parents and from people I've met over my lifetime is don't overspend yourself. Don't be house poor. Make something that works for you and for your family. There's always something out there when you think there isn't that's going to be a great property or home for you when you didn't think it was there, depending on what size it is, where you need to find it. So if you look hard enough, you'll find it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, with the way the economy is, a lot of people are doing these side hustles, this gig economy too, driving for some of the delivery services. We have something that's pretty cool. I'll mention it here. It's called K-Score. So with Keller Williams Realty, we have a free online class. You can get your real estate license for free online. Now, you do have to pay for your fingerprints and state test, et cetera. But once you become a licensed real estate agent, a licensed realtor at that point, if you join the board, you could simply earn a side hustle income. And this works great for bartenders, hairstylists, etc. What you're able to do then is that point is just refer people in. You don't have to go out and learn the business and get MLS access and show homes and all that. You could simply refer people to us, and We would close the deal for you. We would work the buyer, seller, investor lead. And once they close, let's say it's a $300,000 home. You get 3% of that typically. It's a $9,000 commission. You would earn 25% referral just for referring that over. So it's a pretty cool side hustle there. We're offering out there to people, Patrick.
It is, and that's fascinating that you said that because we had just talked about that when we came back from the Staging Collective. Our first annual meeting, our inaugural event was last week here in Tampa at the Grand Hyatt.
Nice.
And we have a colleague of ours who operates out of Brooklyn and Manhattan, Jason Saft with Stage to Sell Home. And he used to be a real estate agent. He continues to maintain his license, though he's staging full-time now. And he does a lot of referral fees, and it's just like extra side hustle income, keeping that real estate license, and then collecting on those dollars for referring folks out that would never really come to him that need a referral, and then, passing it off, and it works great for him. I know Andy and I have noodled on kind of just getting our real estate license just to provide referrals, and that's it.
Yeah.
And to continue to stage, and that might be something that's a really good idea. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of bartenders. It works well if you're in contact with people, personal trainers. There's a story through one of the Keller Williams teams. The gentleman had, I think it was something like 18 referrals from one hairstylist in 1 year.
That's amazing.
I mean, it's and she's making a nice $20,000-$30,000 extra commission profit just by referring the people in.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a great idea for, like you said, it is so different now than it was like in the 80s when I grew up. I'm dating myself, 80s and 90s, but you didn't necessarily have to worry about like a dual income family just to make ends meet.
Exactly.
My dad worked, my mom like part-time, and most of the time was, a homemaker, stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And we were able to make it work, and we were middle class, and we were just fine. But today, gosh, I don't even know how parents do it with kids. Like Andy and I are married. Our child is our dog. We don't have kids.
Yeah.
So I have mad respect for the parents that are out there working 2 jobs and still trying to do side hustles and still trying to raise their kids and have a family and do everything that's involved in that. Like, kudos to them because I can't imagine where they're finding the time.
Yeah. And that's such a shame that our country had to come to that, or, it's pushed that way, I guess, through the what you've had over the years is a marriage between the politicians and the businesses, right? The corporations. And they said, oh, well, we'll give them more tax credits or more, how that's played out. But now it's got even further with the woke stuff. But yeah, going back to the 80s, yeah, you'd have a one income household. Mom was typically, with the kids, or maybe she'd have a side babysit a couple extra kids, make a little extra income. Things like that. But I wish our country could go back to something like that. It seems like they're working too many hours for not enough pay, and then a dollar's not going that far. It sounds like that one guy's song, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oliver Anthony or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, gosh, the advent of technology with smartphones and computers and everything's so fast-paced these days, and we've created a society in the past 15 years with social media where it's a now, me society. And if we're not doing things yesterday, then we're behind the game, and I think that's why people's mental health is so stressed. People are stressed out personally. Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world because we've created such a fast-paced, no time to do anything society, and nobody has time for themselves anymore. It's very difficult to give yourself enough personal life and self-care to do that, and Andy and I struggle just as bad as everybody else. I feel like we're constantly spinning the wheels, running on the hamster wheel, don't have a ton of time for us.
How do you want people to connect with you?
So they can connect with us at Step by Stage on Facebook, at Step by Stage on Instagram, stepbystageinteriors.com, or they can always reach me at my cell phone, 321-960-0693.
All right, good stuff. Patrick Furlow, Step by Stage, Jay Smith, A Snoop Inspection, and we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness, do something kind to one another, be a force for good in the community, and thank you for tuning into the Consumer Quarterback Show. Follow us online at CQB Show, at brandonR1, youtube.com, and we'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's